Well, hello. It's good to see you again. We're coming up on Christmas 2021. You're watching Santa, and this is part of Santa's broadcast. You can follow Santa on YouTube at Santa Jeff Claus. Santa Jeff Claus. And as part of those broadcasts, those episodes, we're starting season 4. One of the things that I do is I read from Christmas stories. And so this is part of the Santa Reads series. You can watch all those videos on YouTube at Santa Jeff Claus, Santa Reads. Well, in past years, we've read probably 25 or 30 different stories. And this year, Santa has gotten some new stories. And I'd like to introduce those to you and perhaps read one or two for you. These are chapter books. This is a story called A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. It's about 200 pages or so long, but it's a very entertaining book, and it's a fun story about a little boy who was actually named Christmas. So I hope you take a look at this and perhaps read it yourself. Parents, you can also read this if your child's a little bit younger. You can have parent time reading the story to your child. If you want to run and get a pencil and paper, or you can just watch these videos over and over again, you can write down some of these titles and get them for yourselves. Amazon usually has them as well. This is A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig. The next story is by Matt Haig as well. This is called A Girl Saved Christmas. And it's by the same author who wrote the previous book, A Boy Called Christmas. It's a wonderful story. Amelia is the main character's name. Enjoy this story as well. This is a very old story, very famous as well. It's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. Perhaps you have this or you've read this at home. It's about a family and the children who come to school. And it's about the Christmas pageant that they put on, and all of the shenanigans and all of the fun things that happened as part of that pageant. The best Christmas pageant ever. You can just look at that face. Quite amazing. This author's name is Barbara Robinson. Barbara Robinson. The next story is, if you remember The Little House on the Prairie, it's been a TV show for many years, and it's been a series of books by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Well, she wrote a Christmas book as well, and it speaks about the activities that related to Christmas when they were children. And this is a chapter book, but it's a shorter chapter book, and so Santa will probably be reading this during one of his broadcasts later on. A couple picture books that are just spectacular. This is called The Reindeer Wish. The Reindeer Wish. It's by Lori Everett. And if you remember last year, The Christmas Wish, the same size picture book that we read by Lori Everett, The little girl, Anya, I pronounce it Anja sometimes, but her name is Anya. She's a real girl. It's about all of her adventures living with her family. Her dad takes the photographs and does some of the art. The mommy writes the stories. And this is the new story after the Christmas Wish. That story, by the way, the Christmas Wish, was about her wish to go and see Santa at the North Pole. This is called the Reindeer Wish. It's a wonderful story. A clue: she finds a baby reindeer and raises it. And then we'll discover what happens. I'll read that one a little bit later. The last one that I got this year for us to read is a book by Matt Tavares. It's called Dasher. You'll see Santa right here has a horse, but then Santa meets Dasher. Now you know that Dasher is one of Santa's reindeer, so we'll learn about the story related to Dasher meeting Santa and how that happens. And so I'll be reading that story right now. Dasher by Matt Tavares. Most of you already know the story about Rudolph and the red nose. Well, life was not easy for the reindeer family of J.P. Finnegan's traveling circus and menagerie. They spent long days crammed together under the hot sun as an endless stream of curious people jostled to catch a glimpse of them. Can you see the picture? There they all are, penned up all together. Dasher and his family, kind of like in a traveling circus. Not a fun life, I don't think. Even at nighttime, there was little rest for them. Some nights, to pass the time, Mama would tell stories. It was a magical place, she would say. The air was crisp and cold, and the ground was always covered with a cool blanket of white snow. Your father and I were free to roam under the glow of the North Star. Dasher, the youngest reindeer, loved hearing Mama's stories. Is that the North Star, Mama? She asked. The very same one, Mama said as they looked to the sky. We always knew we were home when it was directly overhead. I wish we could go there, said Dasher. Mama sighed. I do too, she said. But Mr. Finnegan is not very kind to animals who try to escape. Can you see them looking up at the North Star? Santa really doesn't like, unless they're going to do a job for Santa like the reindeer, really doesn't like animals being cooped up in pens and kind of like animal jail. Day after day, under the watchful eye of Mr. Finnegan, the reindeer family delighted the crowds wherever they went. They traveled from town to town. Dasher liked being with her family, and she loved meeting so many children who were always kind to her. Sometimes they even fed her carrots, which were her very favorite food. But at nighttime, while the others were sleeping, she would lie awake, gazing at the bright star on the horizon, wishing for crisp, cold air and a cool blanket of white snow. Can you see Dasher getting a carrot? One night, mighty winds shook the circus tents and rattled the animals' cages. Dasher was wide awake, wishing upon the North Star, when she was startled by a loud crack. The gate to their pen had been opened by the wind. It swung open wide. Dasher could hear rustling from inside Mr. Finnegan's trailer. She glanced up to the dark sky at the North Star. She looked back at her sleeping family. She had a tough decision to make. She knew that this might be her only chance. Her heart pounded. She took a deep breath. And then Dasher ran as fast as she could. And there you can see she's running out from the pen where she was kept imprisoned. Whatever is going to happen to Dasher? I know I would have a tough time leaving my family, not knowing where I was going to go. Dasher sprinted away. On and on she went for hours, with the North Star as her guide. She cried once in a while for her family, who she left behind. She traveled through dark forests, over and through rivers, but no matter how far she traveled, it was still the North Star, far, far away on the horizon. Dasher began to wonder if she would ever make it to the North Star. She thought about turning back, but she couldn't remember the way. She didn't know what to do. So she looked up at the North Star and made a wish. Just then, Dasher heard something in the distance. It was a soft, jingling sound coming from the woods. I'm looking at the pictures. I always enjoy looking at the pictures. Sometimes in the pictures you can get clues about what's going on in the story. Oh, goodness gracious, and look at this picture here. Who do you see? There's Santa, but he's got a horse. What's he doing with a horse, I wonder? Well, there in a clearing, Dasher saw a man and a horse. "I'm sorry, Santa," said the horse, a talking horse. "The sleigh is just too heavy this year." The man smiled. "Now don't you worry, Silver Bell. We'll take all of the breaks that you need. I know the sleigh is heavy." "But the children," said the horse. "They'll be heartbroken if we can't deliver all of their toys by Christmas morning." "Children?" thought Dasher. She stepped forward out of the darkness. "Maybe I can help," she said as she met Santa for the very first time. This was the picture that was on the cover, huh? Silver Bell, the sleigh, Santa, and Dasher coming out from the forest. "Well, hello there," said the man. Dasher walked closer. The man smiled. "Have you ever pulled a sleigh?" he asked. Dasher shook her head. "I've never even seen a sleigh," she asked. "But I pulled a wagon just about every night when I was with my family." "Well," said the man, How would you like to make a whole bunch of children very happy on Christmas morning?" "I would like that very much," said Dasher. Santa thanked Dasher and attached her harness. It was soft against Dasher's fur, and its jingling bells made the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. Santa climbed up into his sleigh. Dasher pulled with all of her might. Then suddenly, the sleigh filled with presents, it felt lighter. Dasher looked down. You see the sleigh? Dasher and Silver Bell side by side. It felt lighter. Goodness gracious, look. This had never happened to Dasher before. She was flying in the air. That's quite amazing, don't you think? Flying through the nighttime sky. All night, Dasher and Silver Bell pulled Santa's sleigh through the air as Santa guided it from rooftop to rooftop, delivering toys to children everywhere around the world. Dasher had never experienced such a thrill, and she ate so many carrots she felt like she would burst. She was having so much fun, she forgot all about the North Star. That's right, she was going to go find the North Star. As the first light of dawn appeared on the horizon, they landed. The air was crisp and cold. The ground was covered with a cool blanket of white snow. Dasher searched for the North Star on the horizon, but she couldn't find it anywhere. Santa smiled. "Dasher," he said, "look up." And there it was, directly over her head. "Is that the North Star?" Dasher said. Santa's eyes twinkled. "Merry Christmas," he said, "and welcome home." Dasher was home. Do you see a little bit of the North Star's light from the top? And there's Dasher on the snow. The North Pole was just as wonderful as Mama's stories. Dasher roamed wherever she pleased, and Santa gave her all of the carrots she ever wanted. But something was missing. What do you think is missing? "I love it here," she told Santa, "but I miss my family. I wish we could be together." Santa smiled. "That's your best wish yet, Dasher," he said. "Let's go find them." Late that night, after resting, Dasher guided Santa's sleigh all the way back to J.P. Finnegan's traveling circus and menagerie. "Mama? Papa?" Dasher whispered. "Everyone, wake up! Wake up!" Mama lifted her head. "Dasher," she said, "is that really you?" It's me, Mama," said Dasher. She told her family all about Santa and Silver Bell, and how the North Pole was just as amazing as Mama's stories. But I missed you terribly," she said. "You were all that I wished for." Dasher led her family to Santa's sleigh. Santa attached their harnesses that he had brought with him. You're not going to believe this part, she said. There they are, going up into the sky. That's quite amazing. Over the rooftops they're flying. Do you see? So we now know how Santa went from one horse to all of his 8 reindeer. When Christmas Eve arrived, Silver Bell watched as Santa prepared his team of reindeer. "Are you sure you don't want to come?" asked Dasher. "I'm sure," said Silver Bell. "I know the 8 of you will do a fine job." Late that night, as Santa and his new team of reindeer soared around the world, delivering presents to everyone, he called them by name for the very first time. Do you know their names? Now, Dasher. Now, Dancer. Now, Prancer. Now, Vixen. On, Comet. On, Cupid. On, Donner. And Blitzen. See them flying through the snow. But where's the one reindeer that is the most famous one of all? On Christmas morning, after all of the toys had been delivered, they flew back to the North Pole, where today they still live happily ever after. There, the air is crisp and cold. The ground is always covered with a cool blanket of snow. And they get to eat all of the apples and carrots that they possibly could ever want. And Dasher has her family together again. Do you remember the reindeer? Rudolph. And Rudolph has a red nose. And one of my episodes coming up, we'll learn why that is. I'll be right back.